So for me to move on as quickly as possible, once I decide to leave the relationship, or even if you decided to end the relationship, I'm just gonna go no contact. So that's the blocking. Um, because it's a clean break. And then I don't have to deal with any residual feelings from you or any emotional fallout, which I'll get into later. But I just get to cleanly move on, and there's no way for me to look back. I'm not saving your text messages. I'm not unblocking you to see what you're doing on the social media. That's not something I personally do. When I block you, that is it. I am moving on. I'm emotionally gonna fix, sort out these feelings, how I was feeling, how I feel now, and then I'm gonna refocus on other things. So it is the reinforcing of boundaries, the desire to move on quickly, especially if things were very emotional and emotionally overwhelming for me at the end. Definitely gonna want to just move on as quickly as possible and just get out of that very stressful, very chaotic, not very mindful situation and keep it moving. The third thing on my list of 10 is the need for emotional space. Now, I've already said several times, and I'm not going to say it again, that I block you as a permanent thing, but I could also see how an immature person will block you temporarily for the same reason. And that's this a need for emotional space. I may need to create a significant emotional distance from you, physical space even also, to process my feelings and to move, and especially to move on from a relationship. So by blocking you, it gives me all of that space without any, oh, I'm scrolling and I accidentally.
The success of your art isn't necessarily correlated with how good your art is. And I know that sounds like a kind of black filling thing to say, but as I keep talking, it'll probably be worse. Um, when I say this, I mean you can look at SoundCloud, you can look at any spoken word poetry night and see a lot of great and talented artists who are maybe top 1% of their craft, you still have no eyes on them. And you might wonder why that is. What's going on there? And the answer is, as an artist, we have all these variables that we play around with when we're making our art. Musicians especially get into this trap, but I think that if they keep fiddling around with the variables, try this vocalist, try this hi-hat, try this drum beat, that they'll find the right combination of things that'll make their art get seen because it's so good. And as the years go on and on and on and on and on, this switchboard becomes bigger and bigger with more and more variables to fiddle around with. You can do this the rest of your life, and you still might not get seen, even if you are creating the best thing that anyone in your field is doing, because your field is so narrow and specific and niche. No one is seeing it. The way you fix that is you zoom out and you realize there's more than just that one switchboard. Yes, you were right. Life is just a matter of fucking around with variables and finding what combination works. And getting your art seen is a matter of messing around with those variables and finding out what combination works. But you're messing around with the wrong variables. You got to zoom out. It's not just about your craft anymore. Maybe at one point it was, maybe in like the 1700s, right? But it's not like that anymore, okay? There's other switchboards with other variables on it that you're ignoring. One of them is the community switchboard. Who are you making art with? Who are you spending your time around? Is it inspiring for you? Are you making collaborations with other people? Are you doing stuff together that you couldn't be doing alone? Those are all good things to think about. Those are all variables that we don't really mess around with as much as we should. We don't think about those things because we're not trained to think like that. We're trained to think, I got to get better and better in my craft until I'm the best, and when I'm the best, everyone will know me. Not how it works. The other switchboard is marketing. Have you considered making something for someone else instead of just what you think is good? That's a really good exercise, and it's something I do with my clients all the time. It's like a very simple marketing exercise. By the way, this is for people who have made a lot of things already. If you haven't made anything, make something first. Just turn the video off and make anything. It doesn't matter. But yeah, if you've been making a lot of stuff and no one sees your work, then it's because you're not marketing it correctly. And so a good exercise is make something specifically for a community. It doesn't have to be if you're like a part of a game community, make something involving that game, put it on that game community, like subreddit or whatever, or Discord or whatever. That's a way of getting a non-zero amount of eyes on your work. It's a way of getting feedback on your craft. I know, gross. I also don't like it. Okay, I don't like marketing. If you wanted to get into marketing, you would have gotten into marketing, right? You would have, like, what calls us to be an artist is not, I'm gonna post this awesome post on this subreddit and get people to see it. No one thinks like that. Well, not a lot of people think like that. But it is something you got to start thinking about. You know why? Because here's another devastating black pill. An excellent marketer that is a mediocre artist will beat the excellent artist that is a mediocre marketer. That's just how it is. Don't hate me for telling you how it is. That is just how it is. And so if you're thinking about marketing, you're thinking you, probably a good sign. It means that you've got that romantic artistic spirit within you. And now it's time to kill it. No, never kill it. But you have to get over yourself. You have to be able to, if you want people to see your work, you're gonna have to learn how to market. If you're feeling resistance towards marketing, you can feel resistance towards marketing in the same way you feel resistance towards making art in the first place. Like there are some people who get blocked up because they think, I need to make the perfect thing, or they need to make like an expression of their soul in some way. And yeah, you should figure out how to do that. You should investigate, interrogate whatever internal circumstances are leading you to not be able to do those things. But if you can do those things and no one's seeing it, you have a different problem. You have a resistance to marketing, to getting your stuff seen, to making things specifically for other people. And you might think, oh, I can't make anything for other people. I want to make everything for myself because I'm a self-driven, individualistic artist, and I don't want to sell out or make things for other people. And that's a category error. That's yin yang, buddy. Those are the same thing. You cannot make anything just for yourself without this idea of being perceived. You also can't just make things for other people without putting yourself into it, or without being a little bit selfish about it, because it's coming from you. Yin yang. Those are two sides of the same coin. You can zoom in on one of those sides and ignore the other, but it's to your detriment. So chances are, if you're making a lot of stuff, no one's seeing it, you got a marketing issue. Now, when I say marketing issue, I don't mean just blindly post the things you've already made to subreddits that have nothing to do with them and get banned off every subreddit. I say, make something specifically for those subreddits. Apply your craft, apply your tools, apply your work for an internet community. I'm using internet community as an example. It can also be a flesh-based community, even better. Well, worse in some ways because the audience size is smaller, but I leave it up to you to figure out what community you're going to target and how you're going to target it. But let me give you a personal example. As a spoken word poet, I really thought if I found the right combination of words, the right rhymes, the right expression of my soul, then people would find me, see me. I was playing around with this craft, this craft variable. And it wasn't until I started moving outside of the limitations of my craft that I found success at all, which was I made a specific piece of work for a specific online community, and it wasn't spoken word anymore. I threw a shitty beat on it. So it's not even spoken word anymore, it's rap. I was not a rapper. I moved from spoken word to putting, it's basically spoken word with a beat on it. And that's what worked, because it made it more listenable, it was for a specific online community, it was about something. This is the kind of stuff you have to do in order for people to get their eyes on your actual work. It's kind of like earning artist bucks. You gotta go, you gotta grind, you gotta make stuff for other people. Maybe it's not the most fulfilling stuff, but you actually will probably find that it's somewhat fulfilling because you're still doing your craft. And then you have people watching you through your actual art, and that's kind of what you want. If you've built out a world, a really deep, rich, lore-filled world as a writer, and you want people to care about that world, you may have to make a lore-filled world about The Simpsons or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying here, though, right? Like, you have to interface with another form of media that people can find your world through instead of just falling into it. There needs to be something else in addition to it. You can't just, it's not enough to just be an excellent musician anymore. You also have to be a good marketer. And it's not enough to just make music. You also have to, I don't know, have some sort of marketing strategy that is getting eyes on your work. Whether maybe it's making a TikTok. Maybe it's inserting your personality into the lyrics more. Maybe it's, I don't know. There's all kinds of variables you can mess around with. Maybe it's working with different musicians and getting access to their fan base, right? Like, there's so many things you can do that is outside the bounds of just the craft. The craft's important, but it's not everything. And we lose that. We forget that. We forget that all the time. And that's why I do that exercise with my clients, who, this is their testimonials. Some testimonials for you. Aren't these good testimonials? Look, satisfied customers. And that could be you, because I have 2 to 3 slots available now, and you can buy them for $500. Deadlines, to make art, to to make sure that you keep making art. I'll give you marketing advice to make sure that people actually see your art. I'll give you community advice so that you can create a community of your peers around you, whether you're someone whose art is being seen and you want a community of your peers, or whether your art isn't being seen and when you want to hang around a bunch of aspiring people and that energy rubs off on you. Yeah.
I don't look at the outside very much. I look inward and try to focus on what do I feel, what am I seeing, in the hopes that by sharing what's going on in me, it maybe resonates with someone else. I can't predict what someone else would like, and I don't think anybody can. So if I'm authentically true to myself, that's the best chance of someone else liking something. People like to be accepted. People want to be accepted. And I'm suggesting in the book that the best way to be accepted is to be yourself. It's not to change yourself to what someone else thinks. First of all, you don't really know what someone else thinks. And if you're not genuine to yourself, there's like nothing is there. It's just a projection or a mask. It's not true. In a sea of information, the more yours is personal, the more it's not like hers or his or theirs. It's yours.
Yeah.
There are these different points of view around us. If we're all thinking the same thing, it's boring. Why would we make anything if everyone thinks the same thing? What makes us interesting are the differences. And even the imperfections. The imperfections are what makes us humans, what makes us what we are. As we get new information, we have to evolve. How can we live in an old belief? If you believe the same thing that you believed 20 years ago about everything, I don't know that you're living. There's so much middle of the road, and it doesn't interest me. I want it because it's louder, quieter, softer, harder. It's pushing some boundary. That's why I take notice. It's not more of the same. It's not just another. It's the one that makes you like, you stop and, did I really hear that? Did I really see that? What's going on here? Where you see a movie where you have to lean forward and pay attention, like, what's happening? It's not just the audience's hand is being held and walk through a story simply. I like the complexity and difficulty that forces me as the viewer to participate in what's going on. I'm not just being carried along. If I like it, that doesn't mean anything. That's what people think. It's like, just because I like it, that doesn't give it any value. Like, as an artist, if you like it, that's all of the value. That's the success comes when you say, I like this enough for other people to see it. Not other people like it, so it's successful. That doesn't mean anything, because that's other people liking it is out of your control. All that's in your control is making the thing to the best of your ability. I talk about it, usually the way I talk about it is greatness. And that's the way I thought of it. My whole life was, my interest is in making something great. Greatness, lasting greatness, timeless. And I came to realize recently, it's all an offering to God. And if you're making an offering to God, you're not thinking about, oh, what's the budget? Or I hope this segment of the audience is gonna like it. We don't think like that. It's a higher vibration. We're making the best we can make to the best of our ability out of love and devotion. That's what it is. And there is no, I'm changing it for someone else, because it can't be better than this devotional act that we're doing. There is no higher form. Most of the artists I work with don't read any criticism or reviews of their work, good or bad. Most. Some do. And I would say the ones who are the strongest in who they are can even read a terrible review and laugh at it. And that makes sense, because when someone gives you criticism, it's telling you as much about who they are as what you've made. It's like we make things, and then we make it with one through our filter, our perspective. And then you receive it through your filter with your perspective. So even if we both like it, we probably don't like it the same way for the same reasons. We all have our own relationship to it. Everyone has their own relationship to it. So any of these metrics of which is better, like the idea of the Oscars or the Grammys, where we're saying which album is better than another, it doesn't make any sense to me because it's always apples and oranges. The only people who we can honestly compete with is ourselves. It's like, is this the best I can make today? Have I gone further than I've gone before? That's all we can do. That's the only competition that makes sense, is continuing to evolve and push ourselves artistically and not get complacent, especially in success. It's easy to get complacent once something works. It's like, I'll just keep doing more of that. It ends up maybe one more time you can get away with it, but once 3 are similar, it stops being interesting. It's the obsessive nature of being really into something that once you start down a thread, you just keep pulling forever. If you're interested, many of the artists that are great at what they do are great at what they do for that very reason. They fall in love with this thing, and then they just want to know everything they could possibly learn about it. And there are no distractions. I'm working on a project now, a documentary project with comedians, and one of the things that they talk about is their commitment. Like when other people are doing things on the weekend, going out with their friends, they're going to perform every night that they can possibly go out and perform until they can get good at their craft. And this could be for a period of 10 years of just having bad performances, having people not like what you do, like banging your head against the wall. But that obsession with breaking through, and when I say breaking through, I don't mean breaking through to the audience. I mean breaking through with themselves to where they get past all of the blocks and to be free in this moment in a way where they can really express their views and be heard and people can react. It's a fascinating thing. But I think in general, people don't like to be told what to do. Yeah. So the best way that you can inspire someone to